Have you ever had that feeling deep down that you were made for something, well, something specific, a unique purpose for your life? Well, today we're jumping into this amazing little book that's built around one massive idea, that every single one of us has a divine calling, and the journey to actually live it out, well, it's packed with challenges we've got to learn to navigate. Okay, let's get into it.
So, the entire foundation of this book, the bedrock it's all built on, is this one central idea. God has a specific plan for every single person. And we're not talking about a vague suggestion here, but a detailed, unique purpose. The book calls this, simply enough, the calling.
So, what exactly is the calling? According to this text, it's that precise, personal plan that God Himself designed just for you. It's really the why you're even here. And this goes way beyond just a job or a role you play. We're talking about the entire path of a life lived for a divine purpose.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. The book makes it super clear that just because you have a calling, it doesn't mean it's going to happen automatically. It's not on autopilot, you know? We have a part to play. We actually have to actively cooperate with God for His plan to unfold in our lives.
And this is absolutely crucial, the idea of value. The book really stresses that in God's kingdom, there's no hierarchy of callings. So whether you feel called to do something the world sees as big, or something that seems small and behind the scenes, they are equally important in His eyes. The example it gives is just perfect. A world-famous evangelist can't do his job without the sound technician. They completely depend on each other.
So, if we need to cooperate, what are the things that get in the way? Well, the book breaks down the obstacles into two big categories. We're going to start with the first one, external pressures. The author calls them the cares of this world. You know, all the distractions and shiny objects that can pull us right off course. And to really bring this point home, the book uses this powerful story from the Bible about a guy named Demas. Get this, he starts out as a fellow worker with the Apostle Paul. I mean, he's right there in the thick of it all. But something changes. By the end, Paul writes that Demas has totally forsaken the ministry. So what on earth happened? This slide tells us exactly why. Paul spells it out. Demas left because he loved this present world. The pleasures, the comforts, maybe the ambitions of the world. They just became more attractive to him than his calling. The book warns that this can happen to any of us if we're not careful. All right, let's look at the next external pressure. And honestly, this one can be even trickier. Why? Because it involves things that are actually good, our relationships. The book calls them the ties that bind, where our family and friends, even with the absolute best intentions, can end up holding us back from our purpose. The book uses this direct quote from Jesus to make a pretty stark point. Our commitment to our calling has to be priority number one. Now, this isn't about neglecting family, not at all. It's about getting the order right. Looking back to please people when God is telling you to move forward, well, it means you're not ready for the job. Okay, so beyond the pressures from the outside world, the book argues that some of the biggest, toughest battles are the ones we fight inside ourselves. These are the internal mindsets, the personal struggles that can cause us to compromise. This question right here gets to the absolute heart of the first internal struggle. Is our passion for God still on fire, or has our love started to grow cold? Are we chasing after our calling because it's a deep-seated priority, or do we only really engage when it's easy and convenient for us? And this slide basically gives us a checklist for this internal struggle. The book describes it as the slow fade, where real passion turns into just obligation. You start choosing what's convenient instead of what's commanded. You treat church like a chore instead of a joy. And that fire you once had, it just isn't burning as bright. It's a subtle but really dangerous place to be. The next internal battle is a big one. The fear of what other people think. The book points out that if we need that honor and acceptance from others to feel good about ourselves, we'll never be free to do the unique and, let's be honest, sometimes weird things God calls us to do. This brings us to a super important point about how we actually do the work. See, it's not just about what we're called to do, but how we do it. The book warns us about doing it man's way. Of course, the call itself has to come from God 100%, but the methods, the strategies, the how-to, all of that has to come from God too. You can't fulfill a divine call with human cleverness alone. So we've looked at the challenges from the outside and the struggles on the inside. And that leads us to what is maybe the most demanding part of the book. The part that addresses the reality that following your calling, well, it comes with a cost. There's a price to be paid. This is the question the book just forces you to face.
If you're serious about this, if you genuinely want to fulfill your God-given purpose, what is it actually going to cost you?
The answer is, well, it's as simple as it is staggering. One word: everything. The book does not pull any punches here. The price of discipleship, the price of truly following your calling, is your entire life.
And here's the biblical foundation for that really intense claim. The text explains that the word forsake here literally means to surrender your ownership of it. It doesn't mean you can't have things, it just means God owns them now. Your stuff, your plans, your ambitions, He gets the final say on all of it.
And this slide just brilliantly captures the nuance of that idea. The book argues that the real issue isn't the grand total of everything you've already surrendered. No, it's about that one thing, or maybe those few things, that you're still holding back. The author says that, so often, the smallest unsurrendered part of our life is the very thing that's holding us back from everything else.
And all of this brings us to the end of the journey, where the book just lays it all on the table and says, the choice is yours. After understanding the call, the challenges, and the cost, you have to make a decision.
So the final enemy, the book says, is standing in our way is fear. And it's broken down into these 4 key types: the fear that you'll fail, the fear of an unknown future, the fear that you won't have enough, and finally, that fear of what other people will think or say. The book is crystal clear: fear is a paralyzing force. It'll stop you right in your tracks.
But the book doesn't just leave us there, paralyzed in fear. It finishes with a powerful call to action, using the Apostle Paul's words as a kind of rallying cry. It's not about being perfect, it's about pressing on. It's about forgetting what is behind and just reaching forward with everything you've got toward that goal.
And this presents the final, ultimate choice. See, you can live your life and simply make it to the finish line. Get to heaven, you're saved, that's it. Or you can choose to finish the race you were called to run, to actually fulfill the specific, unique purpose that God designed just for you.
And so, this explainer, just like the book it's based on, leaves you with that one powerful question to really chew on. There is a world of difference between just getting by and truly fulfilling your calling. And the decision, as the book says, is yours.